because it's one of my favorite things about living here.
So you've been here for 9 years.
I have.
Take me back to 9 years ago, the method of payment that you were using and how that compares to today.
Well, I feel like first they had those Nokia phones, right, with the green screen, and there was no mobile payments at all. And I usually tried to use my Visa card, but it was hard to take everywhere, so mostly I was having to use cash. But now we've kind of moved into the cashless society here in China.
Yeah, I was just at a food court, and I was with my colleague Xiaoyan, and I couldn't pay for anything. She had to pay for me. I had to pay her back in cash because I didn't have a mobile payment operation. And by the way, every time I come, sometimes there's no way for a foreigner to pay in mobile payment because they don't take the credit cards. They've just started doing that, I believe.
Yes, they've just started so that you can link your credit card, but even so, it's hard to do without a Chinese bank account. But still, once you actually get that mobile payment, it makes life so much easier.
So tell me now, you just need your phone, and what all can you buy during the course of your day? How often are you putting this up to pay?
Well, I've actually done a lot of videos and reports about this because I can basically pay for everything. Taxis, healthcare, anything you might want. I think the only time it becomes a problem is if you have something as small as less than $1 or less than 1 Chinese yuan. So that's when they say, really, can you just give me some cash or something? But besides that, I use it just for about everything. So you've got to get on board here.
I'm the problem, clearly. Let me ask you this, because I'm kind of a private person, even though I do television, and I wonder how people have overcome privacy concerns about having their bank accounts attached to something they could easily lose.
I think a lot of it, people are very careful about their money, and I do believe that when you link your bank account to something like WeChat or Alipay, there are a lot of different kind of safeguards there, but still people want to keep their money in the bank account, and that's okay because when you use mobile payment, you can take it directly from your bank account. You don't have to have it sitting like in the mobile payment apps.
Do we know much about I'm sure you do because you've researched it and done a lot of reports on it, the ways in which the companies guarantee safety? Is there a guarantee, or are you taking a risk as a consumer?
I think it depends. I know with some platforms like Alipay, they will insure your money up to a certain amount.
So unless you're a billionaire or a millionaire or 100,000-aire, I guess I should say in renminbi, right? You do have some recourse.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
So really, you should just go ahead and try the mobile payment, because how many times have you had to pay your colleagues back?
You work for Alipay, don't you? But I was thinking about how behind things are in the United States and in much of the West, really. You still use a credit card for almost everything. It's not like we use cash, but we do use plastic, and that means you always have to carry around a wallet. You can't just carry around a phone.
Yeah, I'm actually more afraid now that I'm going to break my phone while I'm out, because I never carry cash or cards with me pretty much anymore. So I always wonder about what am I going to do if I lose that phone?
So maybe we need to insure this and put something very protective around it. Well, that sounds good. I think that there is an interesting thing to be noticed about societies that accept this kind of payment and don't focus on the privacy concerns. Like there is the younger generations. I'm not super old, but I'm a little bit more hesitant maybe than my younger colleagues at accepting this type of thing. Have you seen people right in college, or maybe even before that, just blatantly accept this type of payment methodology, no questions asked?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, I think this type of payment is so useful. So I think it's pretty much everyone has basically accepted it.
All right, thanks, Jess. Appreciate your perspective on that.
Yeah. All right. So China's purchasing power is rising as more and more consumers are spending their money abroad. For domestic companies, upgrading their products to meet shifting consumer demand is the only way to compete with foreign rivals. One company in Guangdong province is latching onto the momentum of e-commerce and has found ways to attract millions of young buyers. CGTN Sui Hui-ao tells us more.
Like most young girls her age, Yang Jiao began wearing makeup in college. She says she used to browse for products at big shopping malls, trying different samples on her face before deciding what she wants. But 2 years ago, she found a new way to shop.
Now I do research before making orders on platforms like Tmall and Xiaohongshu. Buying makeup online is more convenient and cheaper than all the discounts.
And it's more than just clicking the purchase button. What Yang also enjoys is the buyer's show, writing reviews and posting photos on the web so her followers can interact with her. The prevalence of social media has formed a new consumer trend. Publishing photos online allows those cosmetic superstars or ordinary users like Yang to build their community. In turn, that enables companies to build their brands.
More post-95 are getting in this field, starting to use cosmetics products. The penetration now is growing from 7% to 20%.
This internet startup got its foot in the cosmetics store in 2016. Now it's achieved a big success. 18 months after it was launched, its brand Perfect Diary ranked first in sales on Tmall, surpassing Maybelline and other international brands. Sun says their success is due in part to China's e-commerce boom, but even more so, it's thanks to studying the market and fine-tuning their products to suit new generations of consumers.
We noticed that eyeshadow palette is very popular in international market, especially multicolor eyeshadow palette. So we decided to launch in China, and then we used Chinese popular star to endorse the product. So this is our first success in this July.
Chinese purchasing power is increasing. As Premier Li Keqiang said, Chinese consumers are now the powerhouse of the economic growth. So companies have to think more on how to improve their product quality and to meet the new demands.
Chinese companies have a higher level of consciousness. They want better quality and more personalized products. Meanwhile, more and more companies are now taking advantage of digital technology and differentiating their products.
In the first half of 2018, consumption drove nearly 80% of China's economic growth, and online retail sales grew more than a third. Professor Wang says this noticeable trend in industry restructuring cannot be overlooked, as it reflects a new growth model for the Chinese economy. CGTN, Guangzhou.
How foreign companies are adapting to their products to the Chinese market. Let's talk to our guest, Jeff Raby, the former Australian ambassador to China.
Hello.
Hi, Jeff.
Pleasure to be here.
So I'm wondering, you represent Oz Wines, right?
Yes.
So how does e-commerce actually affect the wine business, in your opinion?
E-commerce has been a great contributor to the growth of the wine business. It makes it very easy for people to access a range of wines, product information, background, and so on. And Oswan, for example, has a online to offline structure at present, and we're building a e-commerce platform to reflect the massive growth of e-commerce in China, which we've been discussing earlier.
Talk a little bit about the growth of wine consumption here in China. I mean, we've studied the adaptation of tea to coffee, taking on other different types of products. What have you seen over your time in China in terms of wine consumption?
Well, it's phenomenal. Last year alone, wine imports increased 54%, and we can expect that to continue into the future. It's not a surprise. The scale always in China is something that amazes people, but it's really a reflection of the growth of per capita incomes and the burgeoning middle class, and the numbers are huge. And when people get richer, they consume other things, and wine is a very income-related item to consume. And so, yeah, there's a lot of interest in wine consumption in China.
Can you just say what the secret sauce has been with Oswan, though, because you've done very well in this market?
Yeah.
Absolutely, and at this fantastic expo, we've just signed 2 MOUs, one together worth $137 million US.
Nicely
We're talking
done.
about wine. We're not talking about petroleum or iron ore. We're talking about wine. $137 million US. $100 million with the 1990 company that distributes wine in China. We're now the equal biggest supplier of Australian wine into the Chinese market, alongside TWE, which has brands like Penfolds. And the secret really has been, with Oswan, the company was born global. They started to, they began exporting from the day they started. So they're not focused on the domestic market in Australia, but on the China market. And everything from the choice of the grapes, the blending of the wine, the packaging, the marketing is all about China. And that's what actually attracted me to the company. It was such an interesting business model, whereas Penfolds, for example, they will sell into the domestic market, and then what's not sold domestically, they'll export. Very fine wines, but This is a different model. This is 100% for the export market.
So would you think that this is just for wines, or what would you advise international companies who want to break into the Chinese market to do?
Well, absolutely. You have to know the market. It's not, you may have a fabulous product, but if it's not suited to the market or there's not consumer demand, then there's no point trying to export it to China. And I think that's what often happens. Companies say, oh, well, we've got a great product. It sells well in Australia or well in the United States. They must love it in China, but if it doesn't suit the taste and the needs of Chinese consumers, then it's not going to sell, obviously.
So what do you think is the difference between the taste of the Chinese palate compared with a Western or Australian palate?
Good question. I think we've captured that. It's something of a trade secret for Osborne.
Secret sauce time.
Yeah, exactly. But it is a case of having a wine that appeals immediately, that's rich and full of fruit, mouth-filling, and is nicely perfumed. And that's really what we've aspired to achieve with the Osborne wines.
Did you have to do a lot of market research to get to that place?
Quite a lot. And again, Osborne are absolutely dedicated to quality. The wines that they produce are using grapes from the Barossa Valley in Shiraz, the best wine, best Shiraz area in the world. McLaren Vale, one of the great areas of Australia. They use 3 different winemakers. There's a great conversation, and for the wine that's named after me, the Ambassador wine, which is very nice to have a wine named after you.
Not all of us can say that, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. We every February we sit around with 3 winemakers and others and try and work on the blending to get it just right.
So you get to participate in that too.
Absolutely.
How do we get in on that?
Exactly. Next February I'll give you an invitation.
I'll take you up on that.
She has experience in the market, by the way.
Great.
Yeah. I used to help with wines coming in from California, so I know that China is a huge developing market, and it's very exciting to see the development, because right now, I guess they really only drink wine for special occasions instead of just at the table for dinner.
I think that's changing with the middle class. I think with the middle class travel, the internationalization of China's middle class, it's changing a lot. You know, Wolfgang Schweitzer's steakhouses in Beijing, it often amazes me to go there at lunchtime to see Chinese eating big slabs of steak, which is once they never did, and drinking lovely Osborne wine with it.
Wow.
For lunch, no less.
Yeah, well, they're not American. We do it in Australia at lunchtime as well.
Do you have any advice for other international companies trying to come into the market, at the risk of giving your competitors some advice?
Yeah, really, it's to have, as I said before, a product that is in demand, that is high quality, and certainly in the wine industry, the premiums and the best success goes to the wines that are the best quality. And a Chinese consumer, although relatively new to the product, really understand quality and want quality and need to be reassured about quality. And that's why wines from the New World, from the United States, for example, Australia, are very much in demand in China, because the labelling and the presentation is very accessible, and they feel reassured about the quality of the product.
And do you find that it's easier to sell more expensive wines, or is it still trying to go for a lower end price range?
We have a range of wines covering a range of prices, but you need to have a premium product to lead the brand. And that's what Osborne's done. And one of the other secrets of success in China is branding. You have to develop a brand that's identifiable. Hence, they have the Ambassador brand, and they've got a number of other brand ambassadors to promote the wine. And yeah, I mean, that's really a key to getting it right, is the branding.
Well, you may need to name the next one after the double Jessicas here.
I would love
Absolutely.
Jessica Squared, I think we could call it.
I look forward to seeing the label.
Me as too. Thanks so much for coming in.
My pleasure.
Well, that is it for our coverage of the China International Import Expo here in Shanghai. Tomorrow we're going to be taking a closer look at how China is opening up its financial services sector. And we'll be doing that tomorrow. Back to you in Beijing.
Well, thank you, Jessica Stone, for us in Shanghai. And stay tuned for more coverage of CIE tomorrow at the same time. And now we're heading for another short break, still to come. The 5th World Internet Conference has started in the Chinese water town of Wuzhen.
Plus tard, je voudrais comprendre ce que disent les animaux. В будущем все книги мира будут в моей голове. Я смогу слушать музыку из книг.